loves, it's Lacey and welcome back to our space. You asked for some more DIYs with this pumpkin wreath form, and so that is what we're going to do today. We're going to make 2 new pumpkin centerpieces, so let's get started. Okay, for each one of these, you're going to need 2 of the wire wreath forms. What we're going to do is we're going to set them up on there and we are going to curve them in. We're going to start by the stem and pull each section over on going back and forth to make it into a semicircle. You want to be really careful where it connects to each one of the sections so you don't pull that wire off. If you do, we can fix it, but we just want to keep bending this pumpkin in until you make a semicircle. Once you do it on the top for a while, you want to grab the sides and pull it in, and then we're going to flip it over to the bottom and do the exact same thing. And once you have your semicircle on one of them where they look like it's almost round, you're going to take the second one and do the exact same thing to it. You're going to do this on all 4. Okay, now your 2 pieces will fit together to make our round pumpkin, but these sides here will be inside of the pumpkin if you leave it like it is. So we are going to cut them off and use them to help with the curve of the pumpkin. We're going to cut about 1.5 inches away from your actual wire section that comes first, and then we're going to curve that piece down when you cut on the top of the pumpkin. So the long piece that's left is going to get curved downward. Then on the opposite side, you're going to cut the bottom of the pumpkin. And sorry, my pumpkin got away from me there. But this one is going to go down towards the bottom of the pumpkin. And then we're going to cut on the opposite side of the pumpkin, the other wire, and we're going to make that one shape upwards towards the pumpkin. And you're going to do this on all 4 of your pumpkin forms. So one side is cut at the top and one side is cut at the bottom. I am using some wire cutters that came from Home Depot. They cost about $10, I think. Make sure you use strong enough wire cutters so you don't have to struggle as much as I did. But now you can see these pumpkins fit together, and we are going to take some cable ties. These came from Dollar Tree, and we are going to hook these pumpkins together to make them into one unit. You get about 100 in this pack, and you can use as many as you like to hook this pumpkin together. First, we're going to start off with the 2 sides where we cut the wires. Now you're going to have 2 of the down sides that are right next to each other, and we are going to hook those together. It would not normally have 2 there, so we're going to make them into one, and we're going to go on to the other side and do the exact same thing. Then we are going to take our cable ties, and like I say, you can use as many as you like. I use a ton of them, and we are going to fasten the tops together. We're going to use that extra wire piece that we pulled up to bend around the top, and it does not have to be perfect because you are going to cover it up. And we're going to put a ton of cable ties, or zip ties, some people call them, around the top of it and the bottom to form this pumpkin into a circle. I hope everyone is following me on this. I'm showing you this from an aerial up view so you can see the extra loops that we had to create by cutting those sides, so you can make your pumpkin into a perfect circle. This gives it a little bit more stability as well. Once you have all of your zip ties or cable ties hooked onto your piece, we're going to just go ahead and cut off the tails of all of those. And I still have my tags on here too, so I'm going to cut those off and we'll move on to our next step. So here is what that finished product is going to look like. Cut off all of the tails on your cable ties, and we're on to our next step. Now I am grabbing some Dollar Tree white nautical rope. I have the size that comes in 11.1 feet long. You can use any size you want. You can use cord if you can't find this. You can use regular nautical rope as well. What you need to do with the Dollar Tree white nautical rope is take it apart. It has 3 sections to make it into rope. We're going to take all 3 of those apart on some regular rope. I'm showing you here on a leftover piece that I had, and we're going to keep all of those sections separate. I ended up using 5 pieces of nautical rope, of the actual rope, taken apart in 3 sections. Here I have one of the 11.1 sections that I had already taken apart. What we're going to do is we're going to macrame all around this pumpkin. We're going to start with one of the sections that I have 2 of the wires together, and you are going to take your rope and find the middle of that section, and then you're going to place one piece inside the pumpkin behind that section and the other piece in front of the pumpkin. So one piece goes on the inside and the other piece will be on the outside. And you're going to take it to the middle of that nautical rope. So once you find the middle, we're going to start our macrame pattern. And that pattern is very simple. If you already know how to do a simple knot stitch on macrame, this will be quite easy. If not, we'll go over it a couple of times so you get it. You're going to make sure the middle is there. Cross the piece over that's in your left hand on top of your wire. Take the right side piece and put it over the left hand rope piece. So it makes like this 4 here, as you guys can see, upside down 4. Then you're going to take that right piece and put it underneath the wire and bring it up through the loop on the left side to make your knot. And then pull it tight. And that is the stitch that we're going to do completely all over this pumpkin on every single piece of exposed wire. You're going to take your left piece, put it across the top of the wire, put your right piece on top of the left piece, then take the right piece and push it underneath your wire and stick it through the loop that's on the left side. Pull it through and make your knot. That's how easy it is. I'm going to speed it up a little and show it to you again and again in case you get a little lost. You can slow down this video in YouTube if you need to, but that's the basic pattern, and we're going to do that completely all over the pumpkin. So the left piece goes over the wire, the right piece goes over the left piece, then the right piece goes under the wire, and then it goes back under the loop and through facing you, and you're going to pull a knot. So we're going to do that all over the pumpkin. And here it is in a straight on view, just in case you were unable to see it upside down. The left piece goes over the wire, the right piece goes over the left piece. Then you tuck it around behind the wire and pull the loop through. Now what this is going to do after a while is it is going to start twisting on you. Doing the same exact stitch all the way down, it will twist around the wire. And when you feel like you can't do it facing you, just twist it on its own. Just grab the rope that's already on there, the pattern, and twist it around like this. And then you can reach the other side to do the same pattern. And you're going to continue that until your entire pumpkin is covered. Okay, now right here you can see that this wire broke loose while I was playing with my pumpkin. So I'm going to show you that you do the exact same thing. You find the center of your rope. You're going to start your first knot while that is still disconnected. And you're going to push it up towards the bar. And when you get it up to the bar, where you're going to tie it tightly, then we're going to put some hot glue on the rope on the piece that's loose and on the bar. And then you will pull your rope tightly and it will adhere because the glue will catch not only the rope and the bar, but the top piece. And then that just works perfectly well. If you have problems with it and it's still coming loose, get your rope onto the bar and then glue that piece into the rope because you're going to cover that up with decorations anyway. And then just continue your pattern. So here's the pumpkin completely covered, but I left this section clear so I can show you how I covered the bottom and how I covered the other sides of the top. It's exactly the same as doing the sides that you did all the way down. I just tipped my pumpkin up like this, however, and I started with my rope around the stem and around the wires that we need to cover. So I found my middle as usual, and then I put it through where the stem is, and then I am going to put it around the side piece and around the bottom that I need to cover. You'll see how I do it. So it goes around where the stem is and around the side piece, and then I just start my pattern so I can do those middle bars that aren't done. Sorry, the middle bars that aren't done. And then I just continue until I get to the end. Now you don't have to worry that you're going to cross over a bar that already has some rope on it. Just keep going. It's easy. You'll just skip that part when you get to it. And then when you get to the very end, we're just going to make a knot and glue it down and cut your rope. Because like I said, we're going to be covering it up. You won't see it anyway. So here we are at the end, and all we're going to do is take these two pieces and make a simple knot, pull it nice and tightly, and then I'm going to take the one in the front and pull it over to the back, and we're going to use some hot glue and then glue those together in the back. And then we're going to cut them off, and your pumpkin is all covered with the rope.
This pick
then
here
I
from
have
Hobby
these
Lobby.
beautiful
I actually
picks that
bought
came
two
from
of them.
Hobby Lobby.
They
I'm
were
going to be taking the
$4.99 regular
leaves,
price,
this
but
brown
they were
one and the green
40%
one
off.
on
So
the bottom
I ended
off
up
of
getting
these
them
because I want to
each
use
for
them for the other project.
$3.
But I love the
like
coloring of these with this. So we're going to use those along with some Dollar Tree leaves. These have some little berries on it, and one has a pumpkin on it, and I have another one with a gourd. And so we're going to use those to decorate as well. I also have these beautiful kind of burgundy-ish red. Some of them are a little bit velvety. They have some green tips on them. Leaves that came from Joann Fabrics. They are from their Bloom collection, and they are 40% off right now. We're going to use a few of these. Okay, now comes the fun part, is decorating. I already took off the leaves that I was going to use on my other pumpkin. And so now we're just going to use our hot glue guns and place on some of these picks and some of the decorations. Now the stems on these are a little bit long, so I am cutting them off. I could just cover them up, but I didn't want to play with it with my wire cutters. And I'm going to put one of these picks on either side of my pumpkin. And then after that, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants and putting the decorations on the way that I like. And I'm gluing directly to the macrame rope. It's just easier that way than to try to glue any of it to like the stem or anything. I'm going to keep this like it is, but I'm pretty sure if you want to change your mind on something, you will be able to take it apart. So let's get decorating. Next, I have this hurricane vase from Dollar Tree. It is the taller of the two vases. It goes almost completely to the top of the pumpkin. There's a shorter one that's about that size. We are going to cover this with some beautiful craft paper that I got from Hobby Lobby quite a while back, and it matches our color scheme. So all we're going to do is glue it around this face. I do have to cut it down slightly because it will be taller than the vase and taller than the pumpkin, but that's all we're going to do to it. And then we're going to put a light from Dollar Tree inside. And here is how this first pumpkin's final project turned out. I absolutely love what it looks like. I love the coloring of it. I think the craft paper that I put around the hurricane vase looks perfect with this. And I have it on my marble pedestal here in my living room, but I'm probably going to put this one in my kitchen. If you can see, I put an LED light from Dollar Tree in there that changes colors. And so inside of that pumpkin, the light is changing and it is kind of a greenish right now. And then it goes to more of a reddish background. And then there's a lavender and a white. I am going to try to film some of this so you guys can see it at night. The hardest part of this whole pumpkin is actually putting the form together. This is the same way we're going to put our second form together, but I love this. I think the picks and the colors that I used for it turned out perfectly, and I put a few Dollar Tree leaves in the bottom to go along with it, but you could decorate yours any kind of way that you like. Let's move on to pumpkin number 2. Okay, so we're going to start with our reform and take off the stems on this one. I'm not going to use those. And you can see already I cut the bottoms and the top, and we have the long extra piece that goes around that you would use to wrap around the bottoms and the top of this form. We're not going to keep that. We're going to cut it off so that you have 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the bottom. Now I lost the footage of that, but we are going to cut that off. We do not need to keep that piece. What I'm showing you here is that I'm putting wood beads out, and we are going to string wood beads on all of the sides of the pumpkins, but the bottom and the top, we only need 1.5 inches on both sides of the pumpkin. That's it. After that, we're going to put those sides together, and we are not going to put the 2 wires that meet up on each side next to each other. You'll have enough wire at the top of each one's and the bottom that you can just crisscross it over slightly and then wrap some floral wire around it, and we're going to attach it. But first, let me show you how I put the beads on. As you can see, beads are taking off on me and my pumpkin reform tipped over. Okay, I already cut the wire as you saw, and I'm going to be stringing my beads on to this pumpkin. I have 3 different sizes, and so I'm going to be doing them in a pattern. All of my beads came from Amazon. That is the cheapest I found to do them. I have 12 millimeter for the smallest, 20 millimeter the next size up, and 1 inch ones. And I don't know how many millimeters that is. I would guess it would be about 30 probably. I have a ton of beads in my possession, and I buy them 300 to a pack at around $11 to $12.99. And so you can do any pattern you want, or you can do all the same size beads. I'm using approximately 300 beads altogether because they are different sizes. If you did all of the bigger ones, like the 1-inch ones, you probably only use about 170 to, I don't know, 180 beads. But these are Dollar Tree pumpkins, like I said before. They're all different. I just buy as many as you think, plus 10% more, so you won't run out if you care to do this. Once we get them all on, I'm going to show you how I connect these wires back together, because it's a little different from how I connected my beaded pumpkin from last year back together. So here I'm cutting some floral wire. It came from Joann Fabric Store. I'm doing about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to cut that off. Could have used my wire cutters. And I'm going to put some hot glue on the floral wire, because I'm using my big gun. If I was using my small one, I'd probably put it in the beads. And then I'm going to slide that into the beads and push it down. That is going to give that bead on that wire a little more stabilization. Then what I'm going to do is put the beads on the top wire of the pumpkin after I get this one on, and use that piece of floral wire to slide in to those beads. That way they will stay, and it will all have an extra thing to hold it together. So I'm going to put some glue on here, put on another bead, and then put the other bead onto the top piece of wire with some glue, and then stick them all together. And that's how I make all of my beads stick. So here is my pumpkin all beaded all the way around, and on the top and the bottom you can see the exposed wire. Now what I did is I cut off all the excess wire between the pieces, and I glued them by wrapping them with some floral wire. I used silver this time for some reason, because I had a little break in between doing it. But you could use the gold, you can use green, you can use floral wire from anywhere. Dollar Tree sells it as well. I just have these packs that came from Joann Fabrics. They're a little bit thicker. We're going to wrap the wire around where they overlap, and then cut off the excess of the green pumpkin frame wire, and keep that because you're going to need it. Then I'm hot gluing all the pieces on top of the floral wire that holds it together. I'm going to let that dry completely and turn it upside down and do the same to the bottom. And then let that dry completely and turn it back over, so both sides of these wires have glue on them so it won't come apart, if you understand that. Now that we have our full beaded pumpkin, let's decorate it. Okay, for this pumpkin, I picked up some more floral picks. These are from Hobby Lobby as well. They were $4.99, 40% off. I actually love the coloring of these with this pumpkin. As you're going to see, this one's going to be a little more of neutral colors, not the traditional fall colors. I just think it goes really well with the unfinished beads. So we are going to cut off the stems on these just like we did the other ones, and then I'm going to glue these picks directly onto the beads and onto the wires. And as you can see sitting there, I have the leaves that I took off the other picks, and we're going to be adding them to this project as well. Okay, so you guys know I'm extra, and this extra thing in this project are these. These are corn husks. They are used to make tamales in the grocery store. That's where I picked up this bag. I think they were $3, and you get a ton in the bag. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adhering them onto the pumpkin like this. They are kind of wide, and they are pointy on one end. So you want the pointy end facing down on the pumpkin. These are a little long. I'm going to actually cut them off at the straight side, and then bend them over and do them on the pumpkin. Also, they are kind of damp and they're really easy and bendable. They dry really, really fast. So you want to only take a small amount out of the bag at a time and kind of have the bag kind of sealed, because once they dry, they get kind of brittle. And I'm not sure that you can wet them down or get them to reshape if they're brittle. Plus, you can tear them in half or cut them in half if you need smaller pieces. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have the pointy edge facing down. I'm going to cut off some of that top and bend it over because it is a little bit too long for me. But we're going to put these all the way around of it. Okay, now we have the entire thing covered. I have husk between all of the edges, but that is going to be the bottom. As you can see, I turned it over, and I want that to look like there's like a little nest in the bottom of this. And now we're going to move on to decorating the top. Okay, now I am gluing these picks directly onto the beads and the frame, along with the extra leaves that I took off my other picks because they go really well with this pumpkin. I'm going to do this to the same on both sides, just like I did the other one. And I also have some berries on a stem that I had in my stash already, some brown leaves that I got 2 picks of from Hobby Lobby. They were $1.99 regular price, 40% off as well. And I also have a few little picks and things that I got from Joann Fabrics, and I may lose some of those. These little white things, I don't know what they're called. They just said floral on them, and there's bunches of them on here. I think there's 3 on each thing. I'm going to tuck them in to hide some of the spaces where you can still see the floral wire, like the pumpkin wire on there, just to give it a little more fullness. And then we will be done. Okay, so I was looking at this and I thought it's definitely missing something. So I picked up this ribbon from Hobby Lobby a while ago. It is not in the fall stuff. It's not in the Christmas stuff. It's over where they have the ribbon that's near most of their like greenery floral, the stuff that they have all the time. And it was $8.99, as you guys could see. I used a 40% off coupon to get it. I never buy anything regular price. Unless, of course, it's something you really, really want. I suggest you wait. There's always a sale or there's always a coupon. So I am going to be making this into just a regular, like, loopy bow. I'm not even going to have 2 tails on it. And I'm going to tie it in the middle with a piece of corn husk. Just because I started this and I didn't even think it through to pull out twine or to get some more floral wire out I already put it away. So I'm just going to tie it in the middle with a little bit of corn husk that I had left over. And then I'm going to glue it to the top of the pumpkin. And I'm pushing it together just a little. And it's just something extra that I want to put on there. Because we know I'm extra. And today I think I'm extra. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to put a couple of loops on the top. And then I'll put some loops in a couple of other places. And you'll see what it looks like. Oh, and here's those berries I was talking about. I decided to cut some off of the stem and stick them in a few places. Can you put too many things on a pumpkin? Probably, but who knows? We're going to do it anyway. I'm just going to put whatever I find or have near me on here, and we'll see how it turns out in the end. You guys can let me know. Okay, lastly, I'm decided I'm going to put a stem on it, like a pumpkin stem on this. I know I wasn't going to put a stem on it, but I didn't put a stem on the other one. And I know some people are going to say, why didn't you put a stem on it? You can't even tell it's a pumpkin. So I have that piece of wire that I had left over from taking all the berries off of it. You can use any piece of wire. You can use one of the pieces of wire that you had left over from cutting off the sides on this pumpkin. You're actually going to want to grab a couple of those in a second. So I have some nautical rope that I'm going to be using here, and it's just leftover nautical rope. I have lots of leftover pieces from projects, so I'm going to wrap it around this and hot glue it down, and I'm going to do it until I build it up so it actually looks like a nice fat stem. Okay, so now we have our stem. It kind of looks like a horn made. And I'm going to take a little bit of this mesh kind of, I don't know, chicken wire or moss covered ribbon. And I'm going to put my stem on it and I'm going to hot glue it down to it. Mine has some little extra pieces sticking out, so I just stuck them in it. I'm going to hot glue it from underneath it down to that. And I'm going to take two of the metal bars that we cut off of the pumpkin frame and attach them to the bottom with hot glue. And then I'm just going to set it inside my pumpkin and it will rest there because the sides will touch. And here is this final project, and I'm so in love with it. You can see I have a little owl figurine who is a candle holder. You could put a tea light in there. And I got him from Home Goods years ago, so I don't even think he's available. But I think he looks perfect in there with it looking like a little nest. I love the coloring of him, and he matches the beads on this pumpkin. Now the pumpkin is a little bigger than the other one because we did not double up any of the outside rungs on it. So you have initially like 2 more rungs, so it is a little bit wider. The plate that is sitting on is like 24 inches wide, so this is a pretty big piece. I have that little turkey sitting next to him. I was thinking about putting him in there, but he didn't make it because his coloring wasn't as nice. But I love this. Yeah, there he is, my little turkey. I love all the things about this. I love putting a pumpkin on top of a pumpkin, so you could fill this with pumpkins instead of using the little owl. I think the stem turned out nice, though I don't love the coloring of it, so I think I'm going to cover it with burlap or something later on, but I didn't really have time to pull anything else out to do it. I also am not a big fan of the kind of grayish white berries that are on it, so I might take those off and replace them with something else. These right here, they're not like the greatest, but I could use them for a different project. All in all, I still love it, and you guys gotta let me know which one of these you like the best. I'm torn. I think I like both of them, and I can't really pick. But if you have a favorite, put that down in the comment section down below. So that is it for this video. I have to say, I love how both of these projects turned out. These are some of my favorite fall decors for this year. I know I haven't put out very many things. All of the other videos with the Beat It pumpkin and stuff were last year fall decor that I wanted to reshare with you guys. I will link all of those in the description box down below if you want to check those out. I especially love how I beat it the pumpkin with the Dollar Tree ribbon on the back of it last year. So that's it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, for liking, and always sharing my videos. And if you're not a subscriber here yet at Lacy Space, I don't know why not. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button, become a member, hang out with us for a while. We have a lot of fun here. We make a lot of cool things like these here. Also, if you like, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Lacy Space, the same way that it is spelled here. And I will catch all of you in my next video. Hopefully soon. Hopefully I won't be gone away as long as I was this time. Bye, loves.